a very good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back to Crafters TV. My name is Ben Mosby, aka the Crafty Substitute Teacher. I'm going to keep that one, guys. I love that. I love that. When I got the cardi on, the glasses, the tash, they've nicknamed me, Adam and Johnny in the gallery, the Crafty Substitute Teacher. On today's lesson, we are going to be learning lots about... you guys cut me up. We're going to be doing Colour Me Happy over the course of the next couple of hours. This is where we concentrate on all of the different items that we've got as far as our Spectrum Noir range is concerned. And actually tonight, it's going to be amazing because we've got a whole host of different items. We've got starter kits. We've got all of the different ink pads that you might want to go for, which we'll chat more about and explain over the course of the show as well. We've got some really nice bundles as well as far as our stencils, embossing bottles, all these kind of things are concerned too. Just before we get cracking with the show as well, with it being a Friday, it is still Fiver Friday on our website. So if you head to our website and you search for Fiver Friday, you'll find a load of deals that will flash up that will be £5, $5 just for Friday. Hence the name. So if you do see the deals that you like, make sure you get them in your baskets and get them checked out. Our Christmas shop is live as well, which I know loads of you are certainly loving. It's a great little section to have a little peruse around, see what you fancy, throw a few Christmas ideas at friends and family of bits and pieces that you may want. And there's other reasons to look at the website, which we'll chat more about a little bit later on. It's the last day of our Christmas crackers. But before all of that, let's chat to the lady who's going to be taking us through the next couple of hours to find out the kind of thing that we can expect is the lovely Jan Brown. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Yes, it's my kind of show, this one, isn't it? It's like they see me coming, it's let's get the inks out. Yep. So yeah, what we're hoping to do tonight is sort of, for those of you that are maybe starting out on your journeys, we're going to have a look at the difference mainly between the different ink pads. I get asked this such a lot about, well, why is there so many inks? You know, what's the difference between them? So hopefully we can actually cover a little bit of that. But just before we get started, I've got one or two samples for you. Like Ben said, we've put some bundles together for things that we think work with the particular ink pads. So for example, we had a look at one or two of these early on this morning if you were watching, but we've got the 3D embossing folders on, which work beautifully with two or three of the different inks actually, you know, so they are quite versatile. So we've got snowflakes in that collection, we've got those beautiful baubles in that collection. So again, these have been put through an embossing folder, and then the stencil over the top has allowed us to put all the different coloured inks in there. You can see we've done the same there with the bells.
Oh yeah. Absolutely
gorgeous. We've got this one, I've got this coming up as a demo later. And then again, that over the rooftop one. So again, you know, you can see where the, if you feel it, the embossing's raised, but we've got that sort of stencils allowed us to be quite specific with the inks. So it works really well with your water reactive inks, that one, or the pigment inks. We've also got coming up those beautiful interchangeable sentiments. Now these again, perfect for the quick dry inks because we're doing layers of stamping. You want something that's going to dry pretty much instantly, which the quick dries do. And again, we'll show you that as we go through the show. So different sort of combinations of those beautiful little floral bouquets with the option to stamp through the centre on the little banners there. You can see how they sort of come together. Which way is that one? That way. There we go. Yeah. But just to give you that lovely, lovely sort of little stamped sort of focal point on the front there. And then again, whether you want to use your sort of quick dry inks, whether you want to use the pigment inks or the water reactive ones, again, we've got some beautiful stencils. I like to use the pigment inks with these. I've got a great demo coming up with these. So again, there's just a few, not all of the designs, but just a few of them. And then we've got that lovely, I love the spotty one. Absolutely love that. I think that's one of mine actually.
Is it?
That looks familiar. It does look familiar, and I'm always into chopping things up, aren't I? That's what made me look at it. Yeah.
You can tell you've made a lot of cards when you go, is that one of mine?
I think that's one of mine, yeah. And again, we're going to use this gorgeous stencil here in the background with the foliage on later on in the show. Okay. Oh my goodness, now Adam's just asking me how many cards have I made. I wouldn't even like to hazard a guess. Probably into the thousands, I would think.
I was going to say,
that's just for this job, let alone what I do for a hobby. Yeah.
Tens of thousands.
Yeah, loads.
Enough to stock a few card shops, I would have thought. Something like that. Listen, it is going to be a brilliant show. Pam E is in already from Central New York. Hi, Barbara Rostovsky from Indiana. Alison is in from beautiful Westlake Village, California. And Nee Connie, hi, says happy Friday, everybody. It is a rainy afternoon here in New Jersey. Well, hopefully there'll be plenty of sunshine coming from this studio and emanating out to all of you guys watching us on Colour Me Happy. Let's take you through the deals very quickly that we've got as far as our ink pads are concerned, and then we'll chat to Jan in more detail about all of the different ink pads that we've got on the show, because again, it's one of those that comes up, I think, time and time again, and I think it's a great one to explore as well. Like, why might you need your pigment ink pads, for example? When would you use those as opposed to your quick dries or your water reactives? It's all the kind of thing that we will explore. I always think we can get a bit confused with our ink pads, sometimes with our adhesives as well, for example, but everything will be chatted about during this show. This is the Christmas collection of your Harmony Opaque pigment ink pads. £24 or $32 for this collection. Everyone's saving a quarter plus another 20% if you are a platinum member. I'm going to put my glasses on here. Dear, oh dear, the substitute teacher's back. So you're going to get your green topaz and your crushed velvet. You're going to get your Chinese red. Well, there's no point saying it in my ear now. I can see. I put my glasses on. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. You've also got in there your damson wine. Shut up, Adam. Straw bale. You've got your spring meadow. You've got your lemon tonic. And also, ooh, she's in there. Frosty Jade. £24, $32 is the deal on those, as I say. Pigment ink pads, we will come on to those in just a few moments' time and what you're going to be using those for. Quick dry, I think, again, potentially a little bit more self-explanatory, but we'll look at them in more detail, and Jan will explain when and why we might use these in just a few moments' time. Everyone saves a quarter once again, plus wherever you are within Club Inspire, it is a 20% saving off if you're platinum. Plum jam, lemon tonic. You've also got in there your beautiful crushed velvet, straw bale. I can just hear them chuckling in my ear, Chuckle Brothers. Honey pot, your pine tree. You've got your spring meadow. And you've got your Friar Brown as well. So that's your quick dry collection in your Christmas colours. And then your water reactive. So again, potentially a bit more of a clue as to when and why you might use these, but all will be explored over the course of this show. In this particular collection, we've got your green topaz, grasshopper, spring meadow, your frosty jade, your I'm making myself laugh. Your pine tree, you've got midnight, crushed velvet, and your Bordeaux. £24 or $32 platinum price on that collection. And then last but by no means least, we've got your Midas in metallic pigment ink pads. Again, 5 of these in total. And again, the colours that you're going to get: amethyst, gold. You've got your rose satin, the beautiful rose gold, and your silver. 5 colours, £14.40 platinum. So it's a quarter off all of the bundles, less your discount wherever you are within Club Inspire. Platinum is £14.40 or $23.20. We will explore all of these, and I will hopefully ask a few questions that you might be thinking. But if at any point during this show you think of a question, ask us, and I will put it to Jan, and we'll make it a nice and interactive and fun show. Whether you're watching on Facebook, whether you're watching on YouTube, get those questions in. Right, we got to pull some crackers. Shall I come over?
Oh, please, Mr. Mosley, sir. Please, sir.
Yeah.
Please, can I pull your cracker?
You can pull both me crackers.
Sir.
I'm coming over. I'm making my way over. So we can do this now, can't we?
We can, yeah. Come into my domain.
Thank you so much.
Look at this. It's good, isn't it? It's been a while.
I know, this is an honour. This is an honour, stepping into Jan's...
Oh, my little domain. Look at this too.
Now, Should we put them, what do you want us to do? One and then the other, or should we do both? Okay.
One first.
Which one do you want to do? Red or white?
One each?
One each.
Well, let's just do it. Yeah, ready? Ready? I'm
and. Oh! What you won?
Hey, I've got a bottle opener, look, from the bottle of Bailey's.
Hey! Almost as if we planned it.
Oh, my goodness. Shall we see what the rubbish joke is
Go on,
again?
before we reveal what
the
the deal is.
What dries as it gets wetter?
Oh! Towel.
Oh, he beat you.
Ah, Adam.
He beat you, Adam beat you in my ear, a towel.
Was that the joke?
Yes.
Oh.
Sorry. That's the best I could do.
Oh, wait, sorry.
Short notice and all that. Shall we do it again?
Well, first of all, first cracker is the 3D
this.
embossing folder and stencil collection. So you've got your beautiful decorations in there. You've got over the rooftops, delicate decorations, and your snowflake medley. So again, with these, you get a 3D embossing folder and 2 stencils on top of them, don't you?
Yep.
£15. That's an amazing price. 35% saving, $15.20 if you're platinum, or $20. Those deals, though, only until midnight tonight when our Christmas cracker deals end. So that's the first Christmas cracker deal. Do you want to pull me other cracker?
Come on then. Let's see if I can win again.
Come on.
3 times in a row.
3?
Yeah, I won this morning as well, didn't I? That's it now, he's not playing. Look, what we got this time? Got a bookmark this time, look.
Yeah.
Little bookmark. Do you want to do the joke this time?
I don't mind.
You don't mind?
No. Are we going to put the funny hats on?
Oh, we put the hats on?
They never fit my head. No, that's not going to fit.
Oh my days.
Oh, ew. Well, go on.
Grown. What did Adam say to his girlfriend on December the 24th?
Oh, I know. It's Christmas Eve.
No.
It's Christmas Eve.
Honestly. Where's my hat? Let me put my hat on.
There you go.
Let me put my hat on, look.
My image is just getting worse and worse, isn't it? I can't wait till I go home tonight. Can you imagine? Hi, honey, I'm home. It's a wonder I'm...
Oh my days, where's your glasses gone? Look at this.
It's a wonder she's still with me.
And they actually pay you to do this, don't they? Oh my days, he's that guy that you'd cross over the street for,
I'm calling the guy in the pub by himself, drinking a beer on his own. Unbelievable behaviour.
Oh, we all right?
Stop. Let's.
I love your cardigan. I particularly like the sprouts.
Yeah, thank you. Who cares now? The 3D embossing folder collection with the stencils. This is collection 2. You're going to get your precious poinsettias. You're going to get Jingle Me Bells. I mean, Jingle Bells. Jingle Me Bells.
Oh, goodness me.
And you're going to get the...
We're only 13 minutes into the show. This is not setting a good precedent, is it? A festive candle as well. Yes. I'm not touching your bells.
Well, you pulled me crackers.
That's enough for one night.
Ooh, missus. I'm going over there.
Oh,
15,
gosh,
20.
get back in your kitchen.
Get back in your kitchen. Or $20 if you're platinum. Just to say those deals as well. Only live up until midnight tonight. Are we keeping the hats on? Let us know. I mean, I've never looked worse, if I'm being honest with you. But listen,
not?
It's all a bit of fun. We haven't, by the way, just to confirm, because Jam was obviously talking about Bailey's earlier on. We have not had an in-between show drink, but we have.
It's all the sugar.
We've been powered by some sweets from the vending machine. I think that's what it must be.
Oh dear.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Just a few mentions before we get cracking here. Lots of love for the deals on the ink pads. Betsy just saying, colour me happy shows are my favourite. And what a bonus that we've got Jan doing the demos. Deborah saying, what a groovy waistcoat, Ben, I love it. Thank you. Coletta saying, hello all, working on Christmas cards and listening in. I've gotten to the point where I have to have Crafters TV on in the background in order to craft. Maybe not tonight. And Gerard just saying, hello, my crafty friends. I haven't watched live much lately, but couldn't pass up Jan doing mixed media. Right, let us get going and have a look at the ink pads that we've got on the show. Because as I say, I think, you know, our inks, things like adhesives, that's where people get perhaps a little bit confused and a little forgetful about what does what. So let's break it down and make it nice and easy for you tonight. We're going to start off with the Christmas collection in the pigment ink pads. So, Jan, I bought some pigment ink pads, or I'm thinking about buying them. What would I be using these for, and why are these perhaps different to the other ink pads?
Right, okay, so I was going to start in a different order, but seeing as we've got the pigment up, I can do those first.
Okay.
Well, I was actually going to start with the water reactive, purely because this was the first one that hit the market.
Same question then.
So Harmony ink pads, and then we've got different types within that, sort of under that Harmony umbrella. So the water reactive dye inks were the first ones that hit the range, and there are 36 different colours, and we actually made them. Leanne spent a lot of time with this, as she does on all our products, looking at how to bring them to you. And what we decided was to follow a similar kind of system to what we do for our marker pens. So we've chosen a colour family, and we've done 3 shades of that colour. So you've got a light version, a medium and a dark. Now that applies through the water reactive, we'll come on to the quick dry and the pigment. So they all follow that same sort of concept.
Yes.
And the colour families are all the same. I'll come back to that slightly when we cover the pigment ink. So you've got, first of all, a water reactive dye ink. Now a dye is actually a man-made colour. So there's been something used to create these colours in these sets of ink pads. And as I say, there are 12 different colour families with 3 shades in each family. So the idea with these initially, I'm just going to grab some cardstock, and I've just got some pieces cut ready. This one's a stamping card. You could actually work on your watercolour card as well. Wants to be something that's a decent weight. And I'm just going to bring in one of our Spectrum Noir applicators as well. Now these work brilliantly, and again we do them in the circular shape. We also do them in a rectangular shape. I don't think I've got a rectangular, oh I have, I've got one down here, look. So exactly the same thing, but in a rectangular shape as well. So purely preference as to which you prefer. I do use both. I tend to use the rectangular one if I'm doing a larger area, and I tend to stick with the rounder ones when I'm doing a smaller area. So that's just a general guide. There's no hard and fast rule. So I'm going to show you 2 techniques with these that will work with the water reactive. So the first one is simply that blending technique. So I'm going to start with the lightest one, load up my applicator, and these are on a nice firm felt pad in the top of the ink there. So the ink's sort of suspended inside that felt pad. All right, and all I'm going to do is bring this, and I'm going to work from my glass mat, and I'm just going to tilt my applicator rather than coming in. If I come in flat, you're going to get that round shape from the applicator.
Yes.
If I tilt it at a slight angle, it removes that sort of option of getting that circular piece in there. So again, just to bring a little bit of this, and you can see how that shading builds up on the cardstock. So I'm just going to do like an ombre blend of these all the way down the cardstock. So we're going to do about 1/3 of it in that pink tulip, which is the lightest colour. And the more you build up on these, the more depth of colour you will get. So again, we'll stick with that one, and then I'm going to bring in the second one, which is fuchsia. So this is the mid-tone. I'm going to use the same one for speed. I would normally keep separate tools for the different colours, but just for speed. So again, little bit of a sort of more intense colour in this one. So I'm just going to dab some of it off to get started. And again, bring that. I've still got that applicator slightly. Can you see how we're getting those circles here? These will blend out, but I'm just going to bring that fuchsia, and whilever it's wet, it will move around your cardstock. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to that lighter colour, and I'm just going to blend that back over to get that nice blend between the 2.
Fantastic.
And then again, we're going to come to the darker one. This is one of my favourite colours. I love the plum jam. And again, much darker again. All right. So what I'm going to do this time, and I'm just going to take just a bit of tape on here so that I can actually press down. If I put my fingers on here now, because it's water reactive and your skin's got moisture in it, you will leave fingerprints on it. So just to hold it with a little bit of the tape saves me actually taking out bits of the colour. So again, I'm going to use that darker one and fill that bottom layer, and you can see how they blend beautifully into one another. Okay, so just to give you that nice ombre blend down the cardstock, you can see how we've gone from the lighter into the medium into the dark. Now the water reactive element means that they will work with water.
Here we go.
So what I'm going to do is just, in fact, I'll do it into my hand here. I've just got plain old water in my spritzer bottle.
Yep.
I'm going to pop a little bit in my hand, and then we're just going to flick it at that piece of cardstock. So no skill involved whatsoever, just to get it on there. I'm going to cover the ink pads up and move those out of the way. We're going to do another technique with these in a second, just to show you another way to use them. All right, and then I'm just going to grab a piece of paper towel. And the longer you leave this...
Oh, you can see it taking
Yeah,
shape.
the better the effect will be. But what happens is, because they've been made to react with water, you can see that they're starting to push the ink out of the way. So where the little water droplets are, they're actually starting to move those bits of ink out of the way. So when I actually blot this now, this will lift off some of that ink that it's moved, and you'll be able to see even better how you get that lovely sort of, this looks great done with the blues. It looks like a sort of cosmic sky.
Starry sky, yeah.
Yeah, so that is one way of using these for the blending. They are excellent for blending. And then the second way to use them, which you've seen me do, well, as I say, seen me do, I often have it prepared, but I'm going to show you how I actually do it. And for this one, I'm just going to bring in my craft mat, because this actually works better on the craft mat. Now this is our Spectrum Noir craft mat, and when you purchase this, it's literally twice this size. It's an A3 mat, but I've just cut mine in half for ease of use. Okay, so I've got one half that's very, very messy that I use all my paints and things on. I've got the other half that will just clean off with the inks. And for this one, I'm going to do that sort of catch the ink onto the card this way around. So again, I'm just going to press that ink onto my craft mat, and I've gone for the mid-tone because the other one's a wee bit pale, and then spritz it with water, and you can see instantly, can you see how it starts to form those little beads on there? Yep. And then you can go in with your cardstock and pick up that ink from the mat.
Yeah.
All right. Now then, especially for our producer Johnny, he's not seen it again yet today. Look, I knew he'd be all excited in there.
Here we go.
Honestly, I didn't need it on Monday, Johnny, but yeah, I still had it in my bag. I've turned it on.
That's so funny.
So when you get to a point where you've got something that you like, the best thing to do is to dry it, because every time you go into the ink and wet it, it's a water reactive ink, it's going to reactivate it, and you can end up with just a big sort of smooch of colour all over there. So I love the fact that we've got this sort of large area here, and then can you see all the little tiny speckles where it's picked up some of the droplets?
Yes.
And again, you know, you can actually blot some of those wet bits out of there.
Yeah.
And once you're happy with it, we can then go back. I've got some white area here, so I'm going to aim that bit into those little dots.
Do you know, this is what I love? I love watching when you guys do all these demos with the water reactive products, the water reactive ink pads, because it's kind of like creating particularly things like backgrounds here, and you're going to get something different every time.
You do,
I love
literally,
that element of
yeah.
surprise.
And these are great. You know, if you get to a point, you sometimes have those afternoons where you sit at your craft desk,
Yeah.
and your crafty mojo's done one out the doorway, and you sat there thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? This is a great way to sort of spend some time and make some backgrounds. These look great. You know, when you die cut your flowers out of them, or die cut sentiments out of them and things like that, they really do look nice. So then what I'm going to do, I would carry on normally and do some more cardstock, but just for speed, just forgive me while I get rid of that one. And I'm going to bring the darker one in now, the plum jam. Now I'm not going to do quite as much of that one. and I'm going to give it the same treatment, little bit of a spritz, okay? And I'm going to go for some of these areas that haven't got any colour yet. So again, in the corner there, I'm going to go through the middle. Can you see how we get these lovely sort of spots and things?
Like little
so
hearts.
again, I don't want that bit to get squashed in the next dab. So I'm just going to dry that bit as I go along. So wherever you've dried it, you can then start and work over the top of it again. Whilever it's wet, it will just keep sort of blending into itself.
Oh, here's a good question from Jane, who says, why the craft mat and not the glass mat?
Right, I will show you the difference. This is something I've been working on over the last few weeks or so. You can use your glass mats, but I find that you don't get these gorgeous little splatters on the craft mat. It's something to do with the texture
of the
there.
mat.
And I don't really know why, because they're both a fairly smooth surface. But if I just move this up out of the way and do the same thing on my craft mat, and again, just watch, can you see how you don't get the beading? You just get sort of a splodge of ink. So if I pick that up now, I'll just do it on the back of this one, you're just literally going to get a big splodge of ink.
Got you.
Whereas on the craft mat, you get that lovely beading. And I love this sort of reaction on it. It makes it, depends what you're looking for, it depends what kind of surface you want. But I absolutely love where this has got all these speckles on. So just move that one up to there, and I'm just going to clean this. It's obviously got something to do with the glass content, and I'm not sort of an expert on that kind of thing. But then when we get to this point now, you might decide that you want to actually bring in that little bit from the edge again. So again, we can just, if you don't want all those white areas in, we can just use the sponge applicator to take a little bit of that whiteness away, bring some of the colour in. I've not even re-inked my applicator, and just literally take some of that stark whiteness, and you've got something then that's the beginnings of a background for a design. Okay, now it may be, as I say, that you want to just stamp something over this and that's it. The other thing that you can do with these, with them being water reactive, is literally, let me just get some water. You can actually reactivate this. So even though I've dried it now, if I take some water and literally say we wanted to pop an area here, if I just pop myself as much water as the cardstock will take without lifting the surface. And what I mean by lifting the surface, you'll all know what I mean when you get those little bits of, those bobbly bits of cardstock. So literally, again, the longer you leave it, the better the reaction. But we can start and bleach out that detail.
Ooh,
so can you see now I'm seeing sort of mountain range here, I've got the moon in the background, stamp some foliage over the front of it, and you're starting to build a bit of a scene there. But like Ben says, this is something that you'll very rarely be able to replicate that and do the same thing again. So it is quite individual in its nature. Again, we can pop a little bit more in there.
Is anyone else seeing a duck there, or is that just me?
A duck. A duck?
You got the eye where you've just...
This bit here, the beak.
That's the beak?
Yeah, and his face. Honestly, I love it. Yeah.
Can you start see a duck?
You can't see a duck. I can see what he means now. You've got his head here, top of his head, and underneath his face. You've got the beak here. Yeah, and then his eye. Yeah.
Thank you, Jan.
But yeah, two completely different ways of using them. If I just clean that one off the back of there, you can see that this has been done with the same ink, looks completely different. Turn it that way, look, you've got proper little mountains going on here, sort of back of the cave, looking through the cave window outside, cave window, like they have windows.
The cave window.
The cave opening, you've got the moon out, Fantasyland in the pink, I love it. Absolutely love it. So that's the water reactive, like I said, dye-based ink that is sort of manufactured. So let me just clean that mat up again.
Whilst you're cleaning, I tell you what, if you've got questions, do get them in.
Please, that's what we're here for.
We'll try and kind of ask the questions when they're applicable to the product that we're using. So LQ, your question I've got, but I'll ask that in a minute because I sort of know the answer to it, but we'll ask Jan when we get to it in just a second. One question which has come in from Victoria, who says, can you use a plain silicone mat?
The silicone mats, I would try it. It's not something I've tried with the ink. I know the silicone mats tend to be used alongside an adhesive. So they're great for catching adhesive. So for example, if you have your heat gun on, not your heat gun, your glue gun on,
yeah,
and it does tend to drop a little bit of glue, the silicone mat means you can just peel it straight away. If you're sort of popping glue bottles down that are partly open and you've not fastened them up, again, any glue that drops on there, if you're gluing, you know, for example, using the dotty tape pen and you're going over one of the fine, delicate die cuts, you know, it'll catch the dots underneath and it literally just rubs off a silicone mat. So I haven't tried it with the ink because I've been quite successful with the craft mat. I'm quite happy. As I say, this is the kind of result that I like to get with them. That to me, just, I love it, honestly. Yeah. It's just sort of like, it's like a fantasy world that you can decide where you're heading with it then.
Yeah, absolutely
really
right.
Is. Yeah.
And that's the point, isn't it? So many different ways to use them and you'll get a surprise each and every time you use them. Kathy just says, love all of the ink pads. They're the best. Janet saying, thank you for all the laughs. Mary says, oh my gosh, you two hysterical. Keep the hats on. To be honest with you, I'd forgotten that I had mine on.
Yeah, you sort of can't feel them, can you?
Yeah, make sure we take them off before we head home tonight. Gilmore says, the sprouts on Ben's sweater vest remind me of Baby Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, a little bit. And Karen just says, I love when Jan goes into teaching mode. Eleanor says, I want to say hi to everyone here and also Joe and Jan.
Oh.
I mean, we do look similar now, don't we? Now he's shaved.
It's that moustache.
Along with the CTV crew. Hope everyone's having a great day. I tell you what, when I put these on as well. There he is, it's Joe. Joe. He definitely doesn't do that though, does he not? Very quickly, the water reactive ink pad. So the colours that you are going to get, need them now, for £24 or $32. Your green topaz, your grasshopper. You've also got your spring meadow, frosty jade. Ooh! You've also got your pine tree, midnight, your crushed velvet, and there is your Bordeaux. Again, just a smidgen of some of the things that you can use your water reactive ink pads for. Hopefully we'll do a little bit more later on, but if not, there's plenty more tutorial and information for you on our website and indeed via our YouTube page. Let's just quickly go through the colours that you've got of the opaque pigment ink pads, because we're going to look at these next with Jan. So again, it's a 25% saving for everybody, plus another 20% off if you are a platinum member. So in this collection, green topaz and crushed velvet, you have got your Chinese red and your damson wine. You've got straw bale, spring meadow, lemon tonic, and frosty jade is in there once again. So let's look at these, and actually I think this will probably answer LQ's question, who's asking about what is the best ink pad to use for embossing?
That's the one. So again, we're going to have a look at the opaque pigment now then. So pigment is a natural colouring. So that's one of the main differences between the water reactive and the opaque pigment. Water reactive are dye-based inks, which is man-made. Pigment inks are a natural colouring. So for example, things that you find in nature will help to colour things. So that's one of the main differences. The reason I've brought two the same colour is, again, I want to just show you a contrast with these. But your opaque pigment inks will do pretty much the same as what we've just done here. So you can do the blending technique with the opaque pigments, all right? You can do this technique where you pick it up from the mat with the opaque pigments. The beauty of these is when you come to sort of start with the embossing, because these are made to stay wet for longer. So in artistic terms, it's what we call, they have a longer open time. So that means that because they're wet, you can then start and apply your embossing powder to them, okay? And that's what we're going to do with this one initially. But just before I do that, I want to show you as well, even though I said it was the same colour palette, I just want to show you with these, if we pop direct to the paper, the water reactive.
Yeah.
Yep. And then pop down the opaque. Can you see the difference there? Quite a distinct difference.
Are they the same colour?
Yes, these are both grasshopper.
Right, okay.
All right, so you can see here that we've got grasshopper in the water reactive and grasshopper in the opaque pigment. That's the nature of the products that are used to colour them. All right, and again, it's the same colour family, they'll still work together, but you've got that lovely sort of chalky texture with the pigment inks, whereas this is much more of like a translucent dye ink. So yeah, a little bit of a difference, and that's why if you watch me regularly, you'll often say that the pigment inks are my go-to inks, and that is generally just a personal thing, because I prefer a slightly more pastel colour palette than I do a really bright one. All right, so I haven't got the pink one with me to show you the difference here. That's why I just grabbed two that were the same colour. But yeah, you've got quite a big difference there, even though it's the same colour families, into this sort of, and you can just see how this one's got that lovely, it's almost like a muted texture to it, whereas this one, you've got that more solid colour going on. But then as far as stamping and embossing's concerned, I've literally just popped on my rocker block, I've just grabbed a quick sentiment out of the bag, and I'm going to use the pigment one. Now, something to be sort of aware of is we said that the water reactive had that lovely hard felt pad on it. Now, the pigment inks are on a sponge pad, which depresses quite easily. So if I press this down on my stamp now, I'm just going to get a big oval from the ink pad. Now, on a rocker block, that shouldn't interfere with your stamping, but it does waste your ink. So you want a really nice light touch with this, as if you're just sort of kissing the stamp with that ink pad, really gentle, so that you're not wasting that ink. You know, make them work for you. You don't want ink all over here that you've got to wipe off. So literally just pop this on here, and then I'm going to stamp this out onto my cardstock. All right, and I haven't got to worry about the fact that it's going to dry before I get my embossing powder onto it. So here I've just got clear embossing powder, and this is a great one to do because you can just get the colour. Now, can you see how it's sort of gone all quite frosty in there now? Again, if we bring that heat tool back in, and if I'm heat embossing, I would always let the heat tool get up to temperature before I put it near the powder, mainly because the longer the heat's on the card, the more warping you'll get. It always warps the card, no matter how you try. It will straighten again, there are ways to straighten it. So the least time possible on here, the better. And then I'm just literally going to aim it at one part of the embossing. So I'm over this side near the K, and hold it on there until that powder starts to melt and that green ink comes back through. And I can just see that changing now on this side. And then literally chase it across the ink, and you've got that lovely sort of, when we tip it into the light, let's just see if we can grab that sheen on it. There we go, look, yep.
Fantastic.
So really nice and glossy there on that one, okay? You would struggle to do that with the dye inks because they don't stay wet for very long, okay? So the embossing inks, I tend to refer to the pigment inks as the embossing inks.
Yeah, good way to
so
remember.
Literally, if you wanted to do a black sentiment, you know, you could use the opaque black ink pad and emboss it and clear emboss it like that. If you wanted a coloured embossing powder, I wouldn't even waste my coloured inks. I would just go to the watermark one if I was going to use sort of a gold or a silver embossing powder. This one comes to you and much cleaner than this one. Mine's been well loved, but this is just the sticky ink without any dye or colouring in it at all. So it's literally just the sticky part of it that the embossing powder will stick to.
And you can emboss multiple times as well, can't you?
You can, yes. So with this, if I heat it until it's warm, I can then pop the powder over it again and redo it. Now, with a small sentiment like this, I don't think I would go that far with it because eventually you will distort the lettering. But if you, for example, wanted to make like a little tile, so if, for example, we just chopped a piece of this out and you wanted to make like a little coloured tile. Let's see what other colours. We've got a nice bright orange there, look. Let's just pop this one onto there.
Lots of love for the heat embossing demo. I think it's one of those things that never gets old, isn't it?
It does. So I started my journey with stamping and embossing, and even to this day, like nearly 20 years down the line, I still love it. So again, if I wanted to just sort of create a whole sort of tile effect,
Wow, that was just gorgeous.
you can see, even when I tilt this now, you can see that it's wet. Can you see how it's still catching the light? Yeah. So the whole thing of this is going to go now into the embossing powder. Yep. And you've got that lovely frosty effect on it again. And then literally, the heat tool should still be reasonably warm from when we've just done it. So I'm just going to grab something to stop it flying away and then heat over the top. So again, just holding it so that it's aimed at, I'm trying to get you to see. And literally, you can see this start to turn. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Here we go. Look.
Here we go. Watch the magic happen.
Yep. Now, please be aware that once you've turned that embossing powder, it is quite warm. All right, so just be careful. But what I'm actually going to do is grab it again, just in the corner with my tweezers, and while it's still warm, dip it back in. And can you see how it's picked up some more embossing powder?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, now then I've just got a little bit, I don't want that on the mat because it'll literally melt it onto the mat. But you can keep doing this now.
How many times though is like
as many,
optimum?
Normally 3. We normally refer to it as triple embossing. But what it does is each time you do it, you get a more smooth surface because it allows you to sort of spread out that embossing powder. So 3 times is usually enough to get that, as I say, what we call triple embossing. But you'll get a really nice sort of smooth, glassy finish on it. The first one is often a little bit pitted, a bit like orange peel. But once I show you this one, once it's dry now, and what you can do is stamp into this as well. So while it's still wet, if you've got a rubber, I wouldn't do it with an acrylic or a photopolymer, but if you've got a rubber stamp, you can stamp into it while it's still wet and you'll get sort of the relief of the stamp. But if I actually show you this one close up now, look how smooth that is.
Looks like a piece of plastic.
Yeah? So if you imagine we'd stamped on this first, maybe stamped a nice little flower on it or something and then glazed it, you get like a little sort of, looks like a little ceramic tile. Yeah, so completely different effect depending on how many times you do that. And as I say, there's no limit to how many times, but 3 is usually enough. Now, once this is dry, our Adam's saying, can you stamp on top of it? Yes, you can. It's just about having the right ink pad again. So to go on top of something as glassy and shiny as this, I would actually be moving away from the Spectrum Noir inks and I would go back to my Stays On ink pad, which is made for things like acetate and stuff like that.
So that's answered Kim's question then. She's literally just messaged to say, I managed to emboss large areas but struggle to get a crisp sentiment.
Yeah. Yeah, you want something, I've tried it without, you would certainly be looking at the Finesse inks rather than the Harmony, which are the stamping inks. But I've tried it many, many times and still not got, they weren't designed for that purpose. And you've always heard me talking about things that are fit for purpose. So it's about choosing the right product for the right job. So to do something like that on a glossy surface like that embossing, or as I say, things like acetate or vellum that's got that sort of really slippy surface, I would be going for an ink that's called Stays On, and it literally does what it says on the tin. It stays onto that surface. But yeah, you could literally stamp straight over the top of it.
Wow.
So that's the opaque pigment inks.
Okay, just a question coming out. I think we've sort of half touched on this, but again, it's fine. Ask the question because I realise people are joining all the time. So Joanne wants to know on Facebook, can you emboss with the water reactive ink pads?
If you're quick, you can, If you're really quick, they don't stay wet for very long. So it's going to be a case of what I've found if I try and emboss with those is that some of the ink will catch some powder, but not all of it. So you get like not a complete embossed area. So again, if you're wanting to do the embossing, I would recommend the opaque ones, even if you just choose a few of your favourite colours. Not suggesting that you have to have all 36 in every range, just choose some of your favourite colours that you use the most and you'll find out what they are quite quickly. This is, these are mine. This is definitely my favourite colour family, by far in any of them. But yeah, you'll work out what they are. And as I say, it might be worth just investing in sort of maybe 2 or 3 of your favourite colours just to get you going with it. And then just very, very quickly, I'll cover the other 2 because I'm concerned at the time already. The quick dry inks, again, I'm just going to clean off That's the other thing, is it's better not to contaminate the inks. So because I've had the pigment ink on here, I want to make sure that that's clean. And then I'm just going to grab, I've got a little bit, this is actually Nina card, all right, and I'm going to use the quick dry. And again, this is on that spongy pad, so again, nice and gentle. I will deliberately do it. If you press down, this is what happens. And to me, this is just a complete waste of your ink. It won't transfer because the rocker blocks have been designed that way, but you're just wasting that ink. So again, we pop this on here and just stamp out that sentiment. And the minute I take this off here,
dry.
This is dry.
Yes.
There's no smudging in there whatsoever. Don't ask me how it works. I have no idea. Leanne swore us, you know, she says it's not privy to our whatever's in there, but it does work. You know, literally, you've seen the guys where they've poured the water over it. Nothing is going to move on there. So if you're wanting to do layering techniques, like we've got some layering stamps in the show coming up later, this is perfect because you've not got to worry about that first layer being dry. And obviously, if you were using maybe a yellow and then a blue, you're going to get an area of green in it if it's not dry. So if you want those nice crisp colours, the quick dry inks are perfect for that. You'll not be able to do that blending technique with these because the minute they hit the cardstock, they're dry, so you've not got that movement. They're not so much going to react with the water because they're drying on the card. Same with this one, they don't stay wet long enough to do the technique, so it's about choosing the right one for the job. And then just very last of all today, we've got those Midas inks on the show as well, which are beautiful. So again, these are a pigment, so they behave very, very similar to our pigment, opaque pigments. It's just that they've got a metallic ink in there instead of an ordinary ink. So again, these work beautifully onto the darker colour card. But if I just stamp this one onto here in its entirety for an ink pad, if you're wanting to do sort of like a gold sentiment on something, if you stamp it straight onto your cardstock and then die cut it, you've got that beautiful.
Oh, yes.
But can you see how it's still wet?
Yeah.
So this would take the embossing powder again if we wanted to. Because it's pigment ink, you could put that clear embossing powder on here and I could literally emboss the whole thing. Can you see how it's caught the powder there?
Yeah.
And again, you know, just by using that heat on it, you're actually going to get that lovely glossy finish over the top of the gold. So again, it depends what kind of finished sort of effect you're looking for.
These will blend quite nicely as well, right?
Yes, they do. They blend into each other, yeah. So again, just to get that powder to melt, you can see it's just starting to go up at the top there.
You've just answered Joanne's question. It says, can you emboss with the metallic ink pads?
Yeah.
And Lynn's just asking, Jan, can you use glycerin to heat emboss?
Can you use glycerin? Oh, right, I get what you're saying. Yeah, because we use the glycerin to keep the open time.
Yeah.
Yes, technically you can, because what the glycerin does is keep it wet for longer. So if you've used sufficient glycerin, it will keep them open long enough to actually pop. As long as you can get the embossing powder to stick to it.
So is she talking about using glycerin with the quick dry?
I wouldn't use it with the quick dry, but potentially the water reactive. Now, having said that, when we did all our training, I remember Leanne distinctly saying that our ink pads didn't need glycerin with them.
Right.
But it depends again what technique you're striving for. If you've only got the water reactive inks and you're wanting to actually make them last longer, then technically the glycerin will do that. But having said that, if I was going to choose that option, I'd be going to a watercolour medium. So you've seen us use glycerin with our aqua markers, and they will do the same kind of thing, and then you can do the embossing over the top of it. So again, sort of horses for courses as to what you're wanting this end product to look like. But you can just see how that's picked up that lovely sheen from there. So if you imagine you die cut a sentiment out of there then, because you can die cut as long as when you start building up the embossing powder like we did on the tile, you sometimes get some cracking if you were to die cut into it. But when there's just one layer of embossing powder, you could quite easily pop this through the machine and get a die cut, and you've got that lovely glossy metallic finish. So again, so many, and this is literally just skimming the surface of the main uses for the ink pads. There are other things that you can do with them as well, but I'm just conscious that we're so far into the show already, aren't we?
Is there a particular type of embossing powder that's best? Like Lynn's saying, she's asking which clear embossing powder are you using?
We don't sell embossing powders under our brand, so I use one of our third-party brand, and this is Cosmic Shimmer, which will not surprise you.
No.
And I buy it in quite a big tub, and I tend to use very little other embossing powders because I like to stamp in the colours, even in a black ink pad, and then put clear embossing powder. It's more forgiving. If you've ever done embossing with a coloured embossing powder, you'll know that you quite often get little specks of powder that have stuck to oddments of your card, and when you've embossed, you then get these little tiny specks everywhere. And I know I've tried to scrape them off with the pokey tool and you damage the card. I just think it's easier to use a colour or even a black ink and then put clear embossing over the top, and even if you have got them specks, then you don't see them. And that's just my preference. I'm not saying that's the best way to do it, that's just the way I prefer to do it. I will use gold and silver embossing powder as a, you know, sort of as a speciality one, but any colours or black, I tend to go with that clear powder.
Loads of great comments coming through. I just want to read a few comments, then I'll let you know of our starter collection here as well. Christine just saying, hey everyone, Ben, I'm at work and on a break with my boss and owner, Christina of the Crafters Gallery where I work in Saratoga Springs, New York. Can you do a shout out to Christina for some brownie points? Please tell her how well known I am in the UK. Thank you. Fast before I'm not on break. Oh, Christine, I've only just picked this up. Hopefully, someone tell Christine that I gave her a mention. I don't think she'll be still here. But hi, Christine. Hi, Christina. And yes, Christina, Christine is very, very well known here in the UK. Almost as famous as the Queen. Lots of love coming in as well. Where was the comments? Comments coming about our hats more than anything. Someone said, who was it? About me and you looking like the king and queen on a chessboard. Oh, there we go. CJ says on YouTube, from my point of view, Ben and Jan look like chess characters, king and queen. Would you agree? So cute. I mean, I don't know if cute is the word I'd use, but I can see the king and queen thing going on.
She's a bit more slender on the chessboard, isn't she? I've had a few Sunday dinners.
And Pammy says, I think we need Ben and Jan's birth month so I can figure out their elf names. Well, mine is April.
And mine's May.
There you go, Pammy. We're very interested to know. April and May. When are yours, Johnny? And March, July.
March, April, May and July.
March, April, May, July. Pammy, thank you. Elf names would be brilliant. Thank you for that. Loads of love coming in for the demos and the explanations as well. Margaret just saying, CC have certainly cracked it with these shows. Not only did they sell the best quality products, they show us with the best demonstrators how to use them. Thank you, CC. And one quick one before we move on, and I've got to show you this. Dieta says, can you heat emboss on regular vellum?
Yes.
Okay.
Again, trick with that is to get the heat tool as hot as you can before you start, because you want it on the vellum as short a time as possible. And literally, if you've got the heat tool warm, you can literally just go over the vellum and go like so. Because it's so thin, it takes seconds to melt the embossing powder. Whereas if you put the heat tool on while it's warming up, you're going to get that awful warping on the vellum that's really hard to straighten out then, yeah.
Linny says, how many of us now say Frosty Jade? In a funny way, and sing Ben's F on an R song when we are crafting? What did we do before these Benisms? I don't know, probably got on with more sensible things. Let me show you this mixed media starter kit, which I was supposed to show you about 6 minutes ago, but someone kept chatting. This is absolutely brilliant, and actually, do you know what? It's great that we've chatted through all of the different types of ink pad that you're going to that you can get, because you get a selection in here. You've got your lemon tonic in the opaque pigment, you've got the ocean blue in your quick dry, the water reactive in the grasshopper in your water reactive, and then you've got the pigment metallic pigment gold. So those are your 4 ink pads that you're going to get. You're also going to get some of our blending sponges included as well. The craft mat, which you saw Jan working on a little bit earlier on, that is also included in this collection. And we're also going to give you your 3D embossing folder and stencils in the floral butterfly. Again, nice to have these within this collection. And then on top of that, all right, Adam, I'll do it. And on top, he's moving. You did it on purpose. And on top of that, you've got your delicate daisy stencils as well. This is great for you to be able to build up those different layers and create a gorgeous, gorgeous image. Really, really nice bundle. Great Christmas gift for somebody as well who's starting off in their mixed media. And of course, you now know all of the different ways that you can use these ink pads. £32 or $48 is the deal on this one. Loads more to come back to. I cannot believe we're almost halfway through the show. Plenty more to come. But if you've got items in your basket right now, then get them checked out and we'll come back with more fun, frolics and demonstration in just a few moments.
Welcome to Club Inspire, the crafters' companion community where you can feed your crafty obsession. Join our fantastic loyalty club today and receive 20% off your first order. We'll also give you 250 points to help get you started. Other benefits of joining Club Inspire include exclusive special offers and discounts for Club Inspire members only, exclusive sneak peek previews of brand new product launches, and of course the Club Inspire community group on Facebook, where you can access exclusive content such as downloads, offers and inspiration, and of course you can chat and share your makes with other members. You'll receive 1 point for every £1, dollar or euro you spend, and the more points you receive, the more benefits you'll unlock. So what are you waiting for? Sign up, join the club and start rewarding yourself today.
Welcome to Crafters TV. With more than 35 hours of live shows each week, it's your home for all things craft. We shine the spotlight on new and innovative crafting products with tutorials and demonstrations. Our family of experts, fun,
sorry about that little gremlin. Sorry, I'm still watching the video on my screen. Just Craig just getting stuck and Sarah getting stuck. Thank you for thank you for the lovely comments coming through. Stacey, by the way, we must read this. Stacey says, I've got a bit of good news to tell Ben. I haven't had a job in over 20 years and I start my new job on Sunday night. Well, Stacey, that is brilliant. Congratulations to you. Really pleased to hear that. Congratulations. Judy says, Ben and Jan, pure royalty. Lily says, yippee, I've just been buying ink storage and I see the finger daubers are back in stock. Finger daubers are back in stock, are they? It's news to me.
Well, it's amazing what you find out, isn't it? Fantastic. Yeah.
Excellent stuff. And Laura Simmons on Facebook says, I love it when Jan gets punchy and comedic.
All right.
Finger daubers are in stock. Go, 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 because they will go. They are there. Thank you for telling me, because I literally did not know. And our elf names, very quickly. Pammy says, Ben, your elf name is Nippy Pointy Ears. That's Nippy. And Jan, your elf name is...
Oh, dear. Can you read it out on air?
Yeah, well, I'm going to.
Is it that good?
Pudding Snowbum.
How did they know?
It's not as good as Adams. Adams. Pudding Snowbum.
I never thought they'd seen it. It's when I fell down outside earlier.
Johnny's name is Pudding Tinsel Shoes.
Oh.
And this
I
is
can't wait for Adam.
Adams. Perky Festive Fingers. Where, Pammy? Literally, that is brilliant.
Oh my goodness, that's funny.
Nippy Pointy Ears, Pudding Snowbum, Perky Festive Fingers,
and Pudding Tinsel
Pudding
Toes.
Tinsel Shoes.
Shoes.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
Sound like a right motley crew.
I know, seriously. Wouldn't want to meet that lot in a dark alley on a Friday night, would you not? I'm going to very, very quickly show you through these background stencils that we've got, and then we're going to have a look at them because, as I say, we're about an hour in. that we want to see more with Jan, absolutely for definite. That's what this show is all about. The background stencil collection. So 7x7 these, and you're going to get them in a wonderful collection of different styles. So you've got your scattered foliage, as our Debbie Robinson would say, cute florals, then you've got your abstract swirls. Next up is your beautiful rosebud floral. Then we've got, I mean, no collection would be complete, would it not, without your butterflies. Those are your beautiful butterflies. These are absolutely gorgeous. I love the colours on this board that we've got here. Simply your polka dots, which are amazing. You've then got your elegant trellis. And then finally, your love hearts. So 8 different designs. $27.99 is platinum, or $37.56. Let's have a look at these with Jan. I always say this, I sound like a broken record, but stenciling is like a really achievable craft to get into, Jan, isn't it? For people who are brand new, I think stencils are a good first item to get.
It is. Again, I think they're one of the underrated elements of crafting. You know, sort of embossing folders used to be in this category, but I think they've actually sort of gone a little bit further up the ladder. But stencils, people often not quite sure what to do with them. I love using them to make backgrounds with. So again, you know, if you're wanting to save on your design papers, the stencils make a great way to background, and so many different ways to use them. I'm going to keep it fairly simple tonight and just use the inks, but when we get into the mixed media in more detail, you can start using things like texture paste, glitter paste, and all that through them, and literally get those raised finishes on them as well. But what I'm going to do tonight with you is to use 2 different types of ink on here. So we're going to use that gorgeous scattered foliage, and what I did was I thought, right, let's see if we can do something different. So I've cut 2 7-inch squares, one in black card and one in white card, cut them in half, and we're literally going to fit them back together to make a 7-inch square. So the other half of that triangle I've just popped together with some tape on the back, and I've actually got that sort of 2-tone look there. So we're going to go with pigment inks, but we're going to go with one coloured pigment ink and one metallic pigment ink. So the coloured one on the white card and the metallic one on the black card. So I just need a little bit of scrap card. I'll just grab one of those pieces off there to keep a line over here. And then what I'm going to do is pop the stencil over the top, and I nearly always make the base card larger than the stencil. Yeah. Mainly because it gives you that little bit of freedom, and also I like to tape down the stencil. So again, just across the top there, I'm just going to tape it down with a bit of low-tack tape. So first of all, we're going to come in with that crushed velvet from the opaque pigment ink. So again, this is a really nice blending ink. And again, I'm just going to load up the sponge applicator using one of the round sponge applicators. If you prefer to use the little sponge eggs, whatever you want to call them, we've got some of those in the starter kit. I'm going to use that for the other half of it, just to show you the different ways of applying it. But what I want to do is cover the black card, so I'm just going to use this spare paper just to line up on the front there, and then we're literally going to push that opaque pigment ink through the stencil. Because the applicators have got a foam piece on the front here, it means it allows you to be able to push that ink into the stencil and just work it round in little circles so that you're getting ink in all the different directions there. And again, just bring it across. I'm not too worried if it goes over the edge, because I'm literally going to trim this down to size once I've done the project, okay? So again, I'm just protecting that black layer because I don't want this particular ink to go over onto the black cardstock. Again, if you've got any little tiny bits in your stencil that are sort of little swirly bits, try and go with the direction of the stencil so that you're not lifting them up and damaging the stencil. And again, just push this through, all the way through, and you'll be amazed at just something as simple as popping a bit of ink through a stencil. You get a really nice finished result. And then because we've put the little bit of tape on, it also acts as a hinge. So you can sort of have a little cheeky peek and make sure that you're on the right path. So just look at that. It looks as if it's been printed, doesn't it? Yeah. And then what we're going to do, I'm just going to push a little bit of that ink off so that, again, I don't contaminate I'm going to take one of the metallic inks for the other half. So literally just take a little bit from the edge there so that I don't get it too contaminated on this side either.
Okay.
And then what I'm going to do is spin this round. In fact, I'm going to turn the piece of card round so that I can work on it easier, like so. All right. Pop that one back together, and then I'm going to bring in that lovely rose satin and just use one of the, no difference in the application. Again, if you've not tried them, try the different ways of applying the ink and see what suits you best. No right or wrong, I just wanted to show you different ways of doing it. So with this one, again, load up, and now I'm going to cover up this side of it, and I'm going to do the remaining part with that lovely metallic ink. Now, we could actually emboss the whole of this if we wanted to. I'm not going to, because that's not the look I was going for. But because we're using pigment inks, we could literally do the embossing as well. And I think if I was going to do that, I'd be tempted to do the one half, pop the embossing powder on and melt it, and then reapply the stencil to do the other half. Because whereas it does stay wet for a while, it's not going to stay wet indefinitely. So by the time you've done the second part of the inking, it could be that some of this has started to dry and then it won't catch the embossing powder.
I see.
But it's just sort of going to give you like a, almost like a two-tone effect. And I've deliberately picked a couple of different colours, because originally I picked up we do the metallic ink in the amethyst.
Yeah.
But I thought, no, we'll go for two different colours just to give that effect. And again, all I'm doing is literally pouncing that through. Slightly different technique than going round and round in circles. Just the nature of the foam there just lends itself to sort of pouncing and pushing it through. Make sure we've got a nice good coating of ink. Okay, all the way to that edge. As I say, I'm not too worried about coming over the edge because I've trimmed it down then. But again, you can see, and when we lift this up just to have a little check and see where we're at, you've got that beautiful sort of two-tone effect. Really effective.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, as far as your stencil is concerned, the whole of this ink is water-based.
Right.
All right, so I would simply just get out my water spritzer. I'd probably bring in a spare piece of card because you've got quite a bit of ink on here. In fact, before I even spritz it with ink, we could literally just go in and, as if we were cleaning it, but push the ink. Because I'm using the wet wipe there,
yeah.
It's cleaning my stencil, but it's pushing any surplus ink, and you're almost getting a freebie.
Yeah.
Same with the metallic. Now, the metallic won't show up as well on white card.
No.
You will get the colour, the pigment, but you'll not get the metallic properties of it as much. So again, it all depends what you're going for. But I'm basically just cleaning my stencil, and you get in sort of a freebie, and you get that kind of watermarked effect.
Yeah.
Because some of the moisture from here sort of pushed it through the stencil. But literally, as I say, this is just cleaning it. So once we get back to this other piece, I'm then going to cut it down to size.
Yeah.
And I used the two pieces that were left. So these two that I had left from cutting my design, I've literally stuck those together, and I've stuck them so the white bits on the black mat and the black bits on the white mat. But again, it just gives you a different way of using them. And then really simple, I'm just going to keep the cards nice and basic. I found a little piece of purple to pick out that purple ink. I didn't want to waste it, so I've taken the centre out of that to use on another project.
Just whilst you're sticking as well, a couple of questions. Laura says, Jan, when should you swirl and when should you dab on a stencil? Is it because of the different designs?
Some of it can depend on the design on the stencil. As I say, if you've got a lot of delicate parts on the stencil, sometimes the swirling effect can catch it and snag it. And the last thing you want to do is break an element off the stencil and it not be the correct pattern.
Yeah.
So just have a look. This one's not too bad. It doesn't have so many of those pieces. I find the sponge applicators swirl quite well. I find that these ones don't swirl as well, so that was why I was pouncing through it. But again, have a go with them and see see what works. Everybody's different. Everybody will do things differently. And again, this is what I love about crafting. You've heard me say it many times. There's no right or wrong. When I'm showing you what I do, it is just my preferences for things. You know, it's not it's got to be done this way because Jan says so. It is just the way I like to do them.
And here's another good question, and I genuinely don't know the answer to this. Lily says, does anyone know why some of the Harmony Water Reactive containers are green and some are black? Is it
Right.
just to do when they were released?
What happened is when we first launched them, they were all in a black container.
Okay.
Yep. So the original set that were launched were the Harmony Water Reactive, and they were all in black containers. Then what we decided was to be able to help identify the inks, we put them in different colours. So you'll notice that the quick dries are in that purple case, and the opaque inks are in a brown case.
Yeah.
Now the brown and the black does look quite similar. So they took the decision to change these ones to the turquoise.
I see.
So the newer ink pads, the newer stock, should I say, they're all the same, but the newer stock are in the purple cases.
Got you.
In the
green.
turquoisey cases,
Yeah, turquoise. Yeah.
But it's just a means of when they're in your, you know, your storage trays, it's a means of helping to identify. It's like, oh, I know that's a quick dry because it's in a purple case.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Good question. Good question. Jennifer just saying, I love to see Jan do a masterclass on using scrap paper.
Ooh, now then.
Ooh.
Now there's an idea.
Mandy May saying, wow, this looks cool and double duty. And Hannah Hicks says, this is going to be amazing. I think you proved the point here, though, Jan, is in the fact that stencils may be a tad underrated, but certainly, I mean, look, this is a case in point right here. Look at what you can create.
Yeah.
And again, fairly simple to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, I literally have just pushed some ink through a stencil. That's all I've done. You know, any of you guys out there can have a go. Even if it's the first time you've crafted, you can grab an ink sponge, ink applicator, and you can push it through a stencil, and you're going to get these kinds of looks. So just to trim it up, I've just used one of my old dies and just created some little flowers in the white stamping card. I've just tinted the edges by just taking my applicator and just popping it round the edge just to define the edge a little bit.
Another quick question, and this one comes in now and again. Kendall says, how long will the inks last until they dry out?
Well, I'm still on my first set now. I'm trying to work out when we first launched the inks. It's a while ago. I think probably about at least 4 years, if not longer, because I know I was working at the store when we launched the first range of the Harmony Water Reactive. So I would say at least 4, maybe 4.5 years ago. I've not had to replace any of mine yet, and you know how much I use mine. I use them a lot. I do like my inks.
Making sure you look after them, making sure
it is, and like I said, when you know, like things like using the rocker block, try not to overstamp and waste it on there. If you've done a technique on the craft mat and you've got ink left, grab another piece of card and mop it up instead of wiping it up with a cloth. Things like that, and just making it go as far as you can. So just to give you something a bit different, and that's literally all done with that lovely foliage stencil there.
Well, that is phenomenal. Absolutely love that. And again, showing you, that's the scattered foliage stencil there that you're going to get in this collection. 8 in total, but I think showing you just how accessible it is to craft with your stencils, and actually how quick and easy it is, you know, to take the different inks that you've got, take your different mediums, push them through your stencils and create these amazing, amazing backgrounds. Again, how cool was that? Just with the 2 different styles of ink, put on a beautiful sentiment, and you've got yourself a fantastic card. And that's what it's all about, really. Quick, simple, but beautiful standout projects. I love those polka dots. The choice of colours there, phenomenal. Again, you've got the trellis in here as well, that elegant trellis. Those are the beautiful love hearts. And then we are back to the beautiful scattered foliage that we saw just a few moments ago. It is, what, a £48, 64 almost dollar bundle. Everyone's getting tonight for $34.99 or $46.95, £27.99 if you're platinum, or $37.56. Now, if you're loving the kind of crafting with ease, if you like, collections which are going to make it nice and easy for you to create projects that look like you've poured out your heart and soul and spent ages going over them, then you will absolutely love this next collection, which is the interchangeable stamp and stencil collection. 45 elements in total here, but what you get with each collection, it is literally like stamping by numbers. So you've got the ability to build up the actual bouquet of flowers. These are all numbered up for you. You've got a selection of sentiments within each of the bundles as well, and then a stencil to create your banner that you can pop across the image that you've created with your stamps. And again, these are for a whole host of different occasions. You've got your happy birthday in there, you've got sending love in there, you've got my life is better with you in it, and a whole host more. But the point is, you look at an image like that and you go, well, that must have taken absolutely ages to do. There's no way I could do that. Absolutely you can with these collections. It makes it super, super simple. And you've got some really, really beautiful imagery in here as well. That was your violet roses. You've then got your wild meadows again. And again, we'll see these with Jan in just a few moments' time, but they're all numbered up for you. It's just a question of choosing the colours that you want to work with, choosing your sentiment, laying your stencil, your banner on, and away you go. You've created something absolutely stunning. Your classy florals, again, slightly different flowers in there, different sentiments, but it's the same sort of process that you can go through to create these. Next, with Christmas on the horizon, we've got your Yuletide foliage, and then last but by no means least, your holly and your poinsettia as well. £65, $75, it's a $12.99, $14.95 saving today, $41.57 was the price on that. I didn't catch the US price because Adam was yeah, sorry, Perky Festive Fingers was a little bit quick on the old buttons there. Thank you, Perky. $47.84 is the deal if you're shopping with us in the US and you're platinum. Susie, who's doing our socials tonight, her name apparently was Cookie Angel Eyes, which I quite like actually. Oh, that one's nice. It is a nice one.
Angel Eyes, yeah, instead of having a snow bum.
Yes. Or Festive Fingers. That's a Perky. I've never had so much fun, honestly. Lots of love for that last card. I just want to quickly show you the buddy bags that we've got on the show. A whole range of them. You can change it now, Perky. Thank you. He's going to hit me when we finish. I know, he's going to hit me. We've got your buddy bag collection. Again, you will know just how super these are. Great for storing all of your crafty goodies. Great for just like general everyday storage as well. And we're going to bring you, in this collection, your Gail. He's doing this on purpose. You've got brandy in here as well. Each of these, you've got the little plastic inner casing, if you like, to keep everything nice and tidy, nice and safe in there. This one, your brandy, slightly taller, slightly longer, so you can pop your rulers in there, some of your tools. Maybe if you're into things like your knitting, for example, you put your needles in there. That's the second bag that you're going to get. You've also got in here Katie, again slightly bigger. Maybe you've got stamp collections, die collections that you like to keep, all together. She's a little bit bigger, a little bit wider. Not quite as tall as Brandy. You've got Shelley in here as well. I mean, we've popped in a selection of our gilding waxes, but things like there, you put your, washi tapes in there, you can put some of your ribbons in there potentially. And again, think about using these for kind of like everyday life as well. And here's the one I can never pronounce. I know you tell me every single time. Is it Merle? 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 Merle, we'll go with Merle. I think I've got a show with Tiffany next weekend, so I'll ask her for the definitive answer. But again, in there, we've got some of our threads, our reels in there. But spools of ribbon, inks in there you could potentially pop in. But the whole point is, if it's storage you're after, you've got a lovely selection of our Totally Tiffany bags right there for a brilliant price tonight. £21.60 or $28 is the deal. Just must say as well that the finger daubers are back in stock on the website, which I know a lot of you have been searching for because they're ever popular. Also, don't forget our Fiver Friday deals as well. The clear pen trays, Johnny was telling me a little bit earlier on, £5 or $5 for the clear pen trays, which I know a lot of you have been shopping for. You will need to grab those today whilst they're in stock or whilst it's Fiver Friday. They'll fit things like your classics, your illustrators as well. So grab those whilst you can for a £5. Those deals, of course, will not be applicable tomorrow. Now, just wanted to quickly make those deals sort of aware to you, but we're going to go back to the interchangeable stamp and stencil collection. And again, Jan, this is one of those collections where hopefully it's nice and straightforward to use, and by the end of it you've created a beautiful focal point for your project, haven't you?
That's what I love about our products, Ben. It's not just because we work for the company. I am a crafter. I do a lot of crafting at home, and there's so much planning and sort of testing goes into the products that, you know, once they reach this and they become an actual item that's available for purchase, it's literally going to do what it says on the packet. So as long as you're using the right techniques and the right equipment to do it with, you're going to get a really nice sort of finished sample every time you do it.
Yeah.
Now these are perfect for those quick dry inks. So I've just picked out some of mine. You've got that purple casing again, just to identify them. I've got Spring Meadow and Pine Tree, which is going to do some of the foliage. And again, I was trying to look at ones that were in our bundle that we've got on the show for you. So rather than bright red, I've gone for that plum jam, which actually looks quite nice for the poinsettias. And then I'm also going to bring in the jet black, the noir black, sorry, for the sentiment. But I'm going to sneak in a little bit of a pigment ink, and I'll explain why when we get to that one. So what I'm going to do to start off with is start and do the stamping. So the best thing that I found for this, and you know that this is at the top of my list, is the stamping platform, because we're going to be over stamping in the same area. So I've just taken a piece of Nina cardstock. It could be the stamping card. It could be, if you actually took advantage of that countdown item that was on earlier, if you were watching Craft Along, you brought that premium marker pad. Yes. That will work great with the inks as well, as long as it's a nice smooth surface. Okay, and then we're going to take the stamp set, and you've got 3 main images here that make up that particular sort of spray of flowers or foliage, whatever's in there. So I've got one that's got the holly and the mistletoe on. I've got one that's got the fern leaves on and some extra little pieces, and then I've got the one with the poinsettias and the berries on. They're all numbered up for you. So number 1 suggests that we start with that sort of holly leaf and the mistletoe.
Okay.
Now they all have that little right angled corner on them again, so that you can line them up. But I find if you're using the platform, you can literally just pop these into the centre of your card and you're pretty much good to go, because you can line them over the top of each other. So I'm just sort of going fairly central on my piece of card. Again, slightly bigger than what I want the end product to be. And for this first one, I'm going to use the pine tree. So that was a nice colour for the holly leaves. So again, nice, gentle tapping. It's almost making contact, and you can feel that sort of as it comes away. Do you like that noise? Yeah? You get that sort of contact with it, whereas if you press it down, just like we did before, we're going to get that big patch of ink. So again, pop this back over the top, a nice straight down press, all right? And I find this is better if you're stood when you're using the stamping platform, because you want to be directly over the top. If you're doing it sat down, there's a risk that as you press it down, you're pushing it forwards as well. And sometimes you can come a cropper with the overstamping if you're doing that. You want it to go straight down into the centre. And again, we've got our first image, which is completely dry. And this is what I was saying about these particular ones are perfect for this technique, because I want to overstamp and I don't want to be worried about, am I going to smudge the ink that I've already just stamped out? All right, the last thing you want to do is sort of create a situation where, you know, you're just going to end up with mud if all those colours merge together. Yeah. So as far as cleaning stamps are concerned, mine are treated to a little wipe with something wet, and then just a quick wipe over with something dry. And that is about as good as it gets. So then we're going to move on to number 2, which is the second part of the foliage there. And again, you've got that right angle towards the top there. But you can actually see, again, if you use the picture on here as a sort of guide as to how it's going to work out. I've got that large holly leaf, and then I've got one of the tall sprigs. So I'm literally just going to pop this in the gap here. All right, so I'm going to line it up. And I know that I'm keeping a space in the middle for where that banner's going to go. So I'm lining up the fern leaves here with the holly, and these ones at the top with the holly. And I'm going to go for about there. Okay. And then again, we're going to pick that up with our platform. And I'm going to move on to that lighter green for these. So we've used the dark green. We're going to go with the Spring Meadow now, which is a really nice, almost like a lime green. So you're going to get some contrast.
There's a few comments coming through. Pammy's still doing the elf names. Joe is apparently Pudding Pickle Pants.
I like it.
Pudding Pickle Pants. All right, Pudding. Can you do Jake, Pam, please? I want to know when's Jake's birthday? Jake.
I can't see him. Oh. He might be in the library.
Someone find him. We need to know when his birthday is so we can get his elf name. When's your birthday? What month? May.
Oh.
Jake is May.
He's on May. He's a snow bum with me.
He'll be a snow bum.
Yeah.
What sort of snow bum though? Patty.
So again, you can see we've got that next layer coming in now. They just build up beautifully.
Patty's just saying, Jan always has the best tips and tricks, even for us crafters that have been crafting for a while. And Pamela says, Jan, have you been diagnosed as above average and a genius? If not, I think we should check that out. You're fabulous.
I don't profess to know everything, and a lot of my learning is trial and error. You know, I would say to people, don't be afraid of things, just have a go. You know, the worst case scenario, you have to throw a bit of card in the bin. Yeah. And we've all got tons of it. I know you have, I know I have, so I know you're all the same. But yeah, just have a go, and if it doesn't work, think about what went wrong and how you're going to rectify it next time.
Yes.
So this one then, you can see where the little circles are here and here. These are the centres of the poinsettia. So this one's quite easy to line up because I just want to see those little centres through the middle of my stamp. And then I've got some areas here where I'm just going to stamp some berries onto the other pieces. So again, that one's nice and easy to line up. Okay, and I'm going to use that gorgeous, I love the plum jam. It's one of my favourites there. So again, nice and light. And you may find, and I've said this many times, that the pinks and the purples, purely for what we use to create the colour, may stain your stamps. Now, it doesn't damage them, it doesn't stop them from working, it's just the actual pigment that dyes, it sort of stains the stamps when you've cleaned them. So I quite like that they get a nice pink tinge to them, but it might not be everybody's cup of tea, but don't be afraid if that happens, it won't stop them from working properly. You can see now how we're building up that lovely scene there. So can you see with mine now how it's sort of keeping, even when I've cleaned it, I've got that pink hue to it. Yeah. Yeah, so don't worry about that. As I say, it's not going to damage the stamp and it's not going to stop it working in any way. Just gets that nice pink shade to it, which you say, I think all stamps should be pink, and then there's no problem to worry. So that one's going to go back on here. And then I'm going to bring in, with your set of stamps, you get a nice little stencil as well. So I'm going to just pop this one in the gap, and you'll find that it just fits nicely in the little gap that we've created here. If you just jiggle it round into place, there's just enough space for it to fit in that gap. Now, because it's only small, I'm going to just hold this one down. And I said I was going to come back to the pigment ink. I don't want what's happening in the centre of here to overtake that lovely design. So if you remember, I said the pigment inks were slightly more pastel in their shading. So I'm just going to take my little finger dauber there. I've got straw bale, which is the pale lemon.
Daubers back in stock.
Okay.
Finger daubers.
And then literally hold this in place. And I'm going to come in from the edges. I want it to be sort of slightly darker at the edges than it is in the centre to create that illusion that there's some movement in the little banner. So again, I'm going to pop a little bit through all of it and then come back in a bit heavier at the edges there and just underneath where it's overlapped. And you can see you create that gorgeous little banner in the middle then. And again, cute. Same with your stencils. Because it's all water-based, these will literally just wipe and clean off, leave them to dry. And then the last bit we're going to do is come in with that black ink pad. Yep. And you've got several sentiments in here. You can decide which ones you want to work with. So I'm going to go for, I think, warm winter wishes on this one. The one that I've prepped is slightly different, but just give you an idea. And these are designed perfectly. You know, all the work's been done. All you've got to do is position them and stamp them out. But they've been designed perfectly to fit that little banner that we've just inked up there. All right. Now I've not put enough ink on here that this is so wet that it's going to be a problem. So I'm just going to go straight back in with my jet black onto there. And this is a quick dry one again. And it's going to stamp over the top of that pigment fine and literally stamp that into the centre of your banner over the top, and you've created that lovely little sort of arrangement there. And I just think, you know, people would look at that and think, how on earth has she managed to get all those colours on that same stamp? They'll assume it's one stamp and think that you've inked all those little bits up separately, and it really is sort of so simple to do. So just to turn that into a card, I have popped together an easel design for this one. So again, I've just got some mats and layers to put together. And I've just chosen, so I love the red with the craft card. So again, I've got some red Miri card, and then again, I was using that 'Twas the Night Before Christmas paper pad. So I just thought with the holly on there, it was perfect to go with that design that we've stamped out. So that one's going to go on there. Just added a few little pearls at the bottom, and then we've got a separate piece. I've put my ribbon on because I am the world's worst when I'm here at forgetting to add the ribbon. So I thought, right, let's do that first. And then a little bit of the tape. This one's going to go onto the front here. And again, I've popped some pearls on there just to match. Okay, get that one stuck down. And then that's going to go on the front of my card here. So I'm just going to apply adhesive to that front section just to remind that we only need it on half of the section there. And then literally make sure that's going to fold that way, that wants to be that way, and just line that up now with the bottom edge of the card. So that's going to be our easel in place.
Okay.
Give that a press. Okay, and then every easel needs a stopper, so we'll come back to that in a second. I'll just get those tapes going just to get those lifted. And then what I've done, I sort of thought, right, I want to make that stamped image a focal point now on the front of the card. So I had a look through my nesting dies and chose one that fit nicely and went from this, just cutting it out in a fancy shape.
Yeah.
Literally just makes it look totally different. So it may be you want to pop this on the front, mat and layer it, absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But I just thought, you know, I want it to be sort of a focal point on here. So we're going to have this, and again, I've popped some of the tape just to raise this bit, but it doesn't have to be. You can keep everything flat if you're wanting to send something through the mail. So again, just to give it a little bit of height, I've popped a little bit of that tape on there. So we're going to pop this one on the front, and then we're just going to add that little border to stop it from closing. So this one says, have a holly jolly Christmas.
Yeah.
The one that we just stamped out said, warm, joyful winter wishes. So there's different sentiments to choose. So this one's going to go in the centre just here, like so. And then we want to pop, to stop it sliding now, we're going to pop this one on the inside, and this is the reverse of that holly paper. So I thought we'll just have a little bit of a contrast. So that one's going to go across the middle like so, and then right in the centre there, just to finish it off, I've got a little bit of the matching ribbon that we did on the top there. Okay, so if I spin you that one round, you can see there that stamp taking centre place. Yeah. And I just think they're so sweet, they really are. It's easy, you saw me do it, it's not difficult. Just looking over the top, lining them up. And as I say, have a practice on some scrap card before you go on to your, you know, your Nina or your stamping card. And just see how it lines up, see how it works. And then once you're confident with it, pop onto your better card stock that you're going to use for your projects.
Really, really lovely. Tina says, love the demonstration. Jan, Adriana, such pretty paper. Yes, absolutely. And Mary just said, love these sets. The paper you use is so pretty too. 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, of course. Joy Sampson on YouTube. Jan, this looks gorgeous. The collection that you need is right here. And you've seen again, well, stamping by numbers almost, isn't it? And having the added extra of that stencil in there as well, so that you can create your own little banner to pop in all of the different sentiments. And what I love is you've got a different array of flowers and foliage with your holly and poinsettia and that Yuletide foliage as well, giving you your Christmas fronts, if you like. You've then got your classy florals included in this collection. The beautiful wild meadow. And then finally, it is your violet roses. Again, all the stamps are numbered up for you. You've got a selection of different sentiments with each of the collections and the stencils to be able to create that banner. You'll have a lot of fun with these, especially at that price today. Everyone saves $12.99 or $14.95. Platinum price $41.57 or $47.84. Loads of love coming in for that card. And also, don't forget, we've still got to do all of the votes in the final half hour. So if you've loved the demo so far, we'll get you to vote for the demo of the show and the demo of the day a little bit later on as well. And just before we have a quick break to give you time to check out your baskets, Pammy on YouTube says, Pudding Snowbum as well for Jake. Pudding Snowbum is his name. So we've got Lady Pudding Snowbum and Lord Pudding Snowbum. That was Jake is Pudding Snowbum. Yeah, so Lord and Lady.
Oh dear.
I mean, this is just so much fun tonight. Thank you for all of these comments that have been coming in. Kathy, what are you like? Jan, the tape you used looks like foam on a roll. Foam on a roll, foam on a roll, foam on a roll, foam on a roll, foam on a roll. Hey!
Had to be done, didn't it? Had to be done.
Yeah, had to be done. Thank you, Kathy. You set them up, we'll knock them down. 2 minutes, get your baskets checked out. The finger daubers are back in stock, by the way. Everyone's chatting about that on the socials. If you've got them in your basket, check them out. We'll be back in 2.
We've had to make some changes to our shipping charges and we want to keep you informed. With continued pressure on domestic shipments around mainland US, we've had to temporarily increase the cost of our regular 6 to 10 working day standard shipping service from $9.99 to $12.95 and our free shipping threshold from $100 to $125. We also have some really great news to tell you. We've introduced a brand new shipping service called Express Delivery. This is a fully tracked door-to-door service which takes 3 to 7 working days and costs $19.95. This option means you'll get your crafty goodies in your hands sooner, meaning less waiting and more crafting. We're also upgrading delivery services for our Gold and Platinum Club Inspire members who will now receive priority delivery on all of their orders. And if that wasn't enough, we've upgraded these orders to our new Express 3 to 7 day service. Your patience and understanding throughout this very busy time has been amazing. So we'd just like to say a huge thank you and we look forward to chatting to you again very soon.
Achieve crisp, precise, and perfect die cutting results every time with the Gemini Accessories Plastic Shim. The idea behind the plastic shim is that it creates a thicker plate combination, offering an even more precise die cutting result with each pass. Simply pop a plastic shim between your cutting plates and then roll through your Gemini die cutting machine and voila! An amazing precise cut every time. Plastic shims work really well with detailed or thin metal dies. So if intricate cutting is your thing, then the Gemini Accessories Plastic Shim is your best friend. There are plastic shims sized to work with a whole range of Gemini machines. We have some awesome deals going, so visit Crafters Companion website and find out more.
Loads of you checking out your baskets. Those finger daubers are flying out the door as well. Just be aware that they are back in stock for you. Lots of lovely comments coming through. You guys are loving the show, which pleases us greatly. Lynn saying another amazing card, so quick to brilliant. And Pammy on YouTube, thank you for sending in all the elf names. Just said, we love crafting and chatting with you all. Thank you, Jan and Ben. That is what we are here for all day, every day. Well, not quite all day, most of the day. Every day. We've got some of the gilding waxes available for you as well. King Gold is in stock. We've also got your Renaissance Gold, and then you are going to also get your Empire Gold in this collection as well. £23 and 2p or £32.62 if you're shopping with us in the US. If you want to jump in and grab those. Right, we're going to fit in, I think, one more demo in the last 20 minutes. A couple of votes to do as well. Oh yes, we're going to have a look at the stencil and embossing folder, are we not, from the collection?
This is from...
Here, isn't it?
I've got the floral butterfly.
Which is
Floral
from the
butterfly.
starter kit.
Is it from the starter kit?
Yes.
I'm getting mixed up now with all these
so
different
many embossing
ones.
folders. Floral starter kit, yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to have a go with this one, and I'm going to go back to the black card and gilding wax, because I just think, you know, I know you've seen this a lot, but again, it's a really, really clever technique that takes very little time and gives you quite a stunning result. So again, I just want to have a look at the actual setup that we get in here. So this one is the floral butterfly, comes in that starter pack for you, and you get the 3D folder, which is absolutely beautiful in its own right. If I just show you the imagery on the packaging there, absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
So you're going to get this sort of lovely, almost like rays in the background, and then you've got the detail that brings more into the foreground. But again, similar to what we did earlier on, I think it was in Wake Up Call, you've got the two stencils that allow you then to build up the details. Now, in this particular occasion, I'm sort of going to have a play with them, but use just elements of them. So first of all, we need to emboss the card. So a piece of black matte card, all right, and again, I've just cut it down to the size that I need for the stencil. So again, just ensuring that you've got that raised side that's going to come underneath the card. Obviously with the black, it's not the end of the world if you get it the wrong way around, because it's black on both sides. But if you've got, for example, a piece of Centura pearl, you want the coloured side above the raised part of the folder. And then we're just going to trap it in. It is a 3D folder again, so I've just literally grabbed my junior plates there. I've got one of the cutting plates, the magnetic shim, my folder with the cardstock in, and then the plastic shim for that top one. All right, and then we're just going to pass that through the Gemini there, and that just applies the right pressure there for it to emboss into the card. And we want that raised image then that we can just feel with our finger to put the gilding wax on. So again, if I pop those out of the way, and just again, it's not easy to see on the black. I'm good at this, aren't I? Let's see if we can pick it up. You tell me when you've got it, guys. Which way are we going?
I can...
Down? Yeah? Yeah, you'll see it when I do the gilding wax on it, but you can see the body of the butterfly there that's really sort of quite deeply embossed. But yeah, let's bring some of the gilding wax in there. So I've got one of the different colours. I don't know whether I've picked up the wrong one off the sheet or not, but I've got the two lighter golds. So I've got King Gold and Empire Gold, but I think I picked up Antique.
Yeah, I've got Antique.
Have you got Antique as well?
I've got Antique, King and Empire.
Right, okay. I thought I'd heard you say Renaissance. Maybe I dreamt it.
Not me, miss.
Not you, miss. So you can actually blend with these. You can use the different colours together. So again, I'm going to start off with, this one's my favourite. Look, I've actually seen the bottom of the jar, and I have had this for years. And I've actually got down to the bottom of the jar. So I'm just going to take some of this out onto the end of my finger, and then you want to try and get rid of it. So it's a case of dab the finger on the old mat as if you're trying to get as much of it off as you can, because you only want a little bit on here. If you go into the gilding wax and onto your card, you're just going to get a fingerprint on the card. But now I'm going to feel for that embossing, and you can see how it just brings up that detail. So again, just dabbing it in there, and you can always add some more to it, but once you've got that big splodgy fingerprint on there, you can't get rid of it.
And I know that only too well from the craft along that we did together with the storybook with the Masquerade collection.
Again, it's something else that
splodge.
Yeah, that's practice.
Yeah,
it really is. So again, just I'm bringing out the flower section there in the King Gold, which I must admit is one of my favourites. And then you've got some leaves here at the side, and then you've got that lovely butterfly.
Interesting question, just whilst we're watching you apply the gilding wax. Margaret says, Jan, do you have a separate set of daubers for each ink style, e.g. quick dry water reactive pigment?
I only really use my finger daubers with the Pigment Inks.
Right.
Yep. So these are all Pigment Inks, and I wouldn't cross-contaminate those with any of the other inks. I tend to go for the sponge applicators more with the water reactives. It's just obviously what I use them for, that just is how it works, yeah.
Okay, good.
Then I'm going to go to the Empire Gold, which is much more of a brassy gold, I think. It's a lot more yellow than the King Gold. So again, pop that one out, same again. as if you're trying to get rid of it. I've not cleaned it off because it goes over the top, and I'm going to go for the wings of the butterfly on this one. So again, just nice and light on there.
Sue's just said, and I guess you'll come on to this in a second, because this is obviously the set which comes with the embossing folder, and then you've got the stencils as well. Sue says, I never know what layer to be using on layering with the 3D folders and embossing stencils. So I guess, is that whether there's a particular stencil you should use first after you've
It doesn't really matter which way you do them. If you're using inks and things like this, if you were using texture pastes and things, obviously you'd need to use one and then let it dry before you went on with the next one. But if you're using inks, it doesn't really matter. So this is that gorgeous antique gold. It just looks like pot of chocolate, this one.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. More into sort of that bronzy shade. So again, same again, dabbing it off, and I'm going to come in with the leaves with this one.
Does this come off your fingers quite easily?
It does, yeah, and it worries me slightly because I tend to use the baby wipes, I must admit, and it literally takes this off perfectly.
Right.
And therefore leads me to wonder what the heck is in a baby wipe that takes something that needs emulsifying to get off your finger.
Well,
but that's a different story.
Yeah, that's a story for another day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to bring the body out in that one as well. I'm going to leave the rays in the background, and then I just want to bring a bit of that darker one down that edge of the butterfly there. Okay, and then I'm not going to do much with the stencils on this one, but yeah, what I mean with this is just a baby wipe. You can see I've got 3 layers of gilding wax going on there. What is in a baby wipe that does that? How are you cleaning your baby's delicate parts with them? It does worry me slightly, I must admit. Yeah. If you get a build-up of the wax on your mat or anything like that, our stick away is brilliant for emulsifying the wax. So just spray a bit of stick away, leave it for 30 seconds or so, and it will bring this off perfectly.
That's amazing stuff. I can back to that and all.
Yep, it is great stuff.
Yeah.
Just make sure if you're using any of the aerosols like that you're in a well-ventilated space.
Yes.
Okay, just for sort of health and safety reasons. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mix this with our Midas ink pad here. So I'm going to bring in the stencil that's got some of the flower detail on here, and I want to highlight this area over those flower pieces here. So again, I've got my ink, I've got the gold, and I've got one of the little sponges again, just so that I can pounce through that section and really bring those up quite bright in the centre there. Can you see how that's made a difference to it now? Okay, and then I'm also going to use the other part of the stencil here, which highlights the wings on the butterfly. And again, I just want to add a little bit, because we went darker on the back of the wing, I just want to bring a little bit of light onto the front there. So again, you know, use these stencils how you wish. There's no law that says because we give you 2 stencils you've got to use every bit of it, but you can just see how we've got that sort of blending going on. And then the beauty about the gilding waxes is that it will buff, so it dries pretty much instantly. I'm just going to avoid the ink for a minute or two because that will still be a bit damp, but if you give this a buff with a nice sort of smooth cloth, if you try it with something like kitchen paper, you'll find that it'll rub the surface off the paper and you get little bits everywhere. Yeah. But I'm going to do the flower section and then show it you compared to the butterfly. And it's worth doing. All I'm doing is just applying a little bit of pressure, almost as if you're trying to rub the ink back off. Okay, because I'm just sort of giving it a really good polish there with the cloth. And if I just tip this now and have a look at that flower section at the bottom here, look how shiny that's come up. Whereas we've got more of a dull effect on the butterfly. So it's worth just spending that minute at the end just to give it a good old buff with your cloth. And then once that ink's dried, you can do the same on here. I'm not pressing quite as hard because I don't want to rub the ink back off. But again, you've got something that looks quite spectacular, I think, there.
Really, really beautiful, yeah.
And I did pretty much the same at home. You can just see we've got a replica there. I've just literally cut this to the size I wanted it, added a few pearls, and I'm going to mat it onto that lovely gold cardstock. So again, because I'm going onto the glitter card, I'm going to use some of my wet glue. The tacky glue, if you're using a PVA, it will sort of seep into the grains of the glitter, and you get a really nice sort of adhesive stick to it with the wet glue on here. So again, just make sure that there's plenty in the back of those debossed areas. And then pop that one on, just give it a little wriggle into place there. Okay. And again, so to turn it over, and you can apply some pressure. You just want that ink, that glue to soak into the glitter card there. And what we're going to do with this one is actually make it into the top of a box.
Yes.
So I've got my box ready there. Now then, because I've got rid of the glitter card and I'm just going cardstock to cardstock, out comes the old all-purpose again.
Love it.
Okay.
Leslie on YouTube has just said, everything looks better with a good gold buff.
It sure does. It sure does.
Doesn't it? And James just simply commented saying, wow, which I think goes to show that people are loving this demonstration.
I just think it's one of those techniques that, you know, you think, oh, it's the gilding wax again, I've seen it before, but you get such a stunning finish for very little effort, I think. All I've done is run a piece of black cardstock through the machine with the embossing folder, and then applied a bit of gilding wax to it. You know, if you were batch making these, it wouldn't take long to actually create these. And then I've just used some of the glitter card there just to make the side pieces. So again, we're just going to add a little bit of glue to pop these, and this is just a piece of the waste that I was from making the box that I've just added on there to add a bit of definition.
Could you, sorry, Anne says, can you use the gilding wax through the stencil, or would that muck up your stencil?
You can use it through the stencils. I have done it where I've used it with the sponge applicators, but you may need, like I said, a little bit of the stick away just to clean your stencil up at the end. It will stick to the stencil more so than an ink. Because you're working with a wax, it does stick to the stencil. But again, pop it onto a piece of kitchen paper. If you have the aerosol, the stick away, just spray the area with the stick away. Leave it for 30 seconds because you need that carrier to evaporate, and then just give it a wipe and it should come off fine. Yeah. Yep.
But some brilliant questions tonight, actually. I'm hopefully we've answered everything that that you kind of need to know. There's still a couple of minutes left. If you want to get any questions in, anything you want to ask, anything about the products, anything about the deals, then do get those questions in, and we'll get them answered in the last sort of 7 or 8 minutes. We'll do the demo. If you do the demo of the show in a second, then we'll just run over a few items for you. Demo of the day, and then jobs are good, isn't it? And
it sure is.
We're off for our Baileys.
I wish. I wish. Right, so then once we've got those at the ready, we can take off the liner there, just on the red line tape. Pop the lid together, and then again, I always sort of say a silent prayer to the craft gods that I've got these the right way around. Make sure that, oops, I'm not quite dry on the edge there. Make sure that the lid's going to fit over the base, because it will not be the first time that we've had an inverted box. So are we ready? 3. Could just do with that being a wee bit drier on the edge there, but it should dry off now we've got it all together. Oh, suspense. Suspense. So I've got the base put together.
Of course you have, surely.
Are we ready?
Surely.
There we go. Fantastic. So again, making your own gift boxes. I just need those pieces, as I say, to stick with the wet glue there. All right. It just takes a second for them to stick down.
Gorgeous.
But yeah, just with that lovely embossed detail on there with the gilding wax.
Oldie
bit of goodie.
Well, do you know what? Patty says gilding wax on black never gets old.
It doesn't.
So pretty. The black strip looks really effective, says Lynn. Crafty Angie on YouTube says, Jan, that's gorgeous. I have copper glitter card. Wonder how it would look with the copper.
Yes, beautiful.
Susie C says, I didn't know you could put pigment ink over gilding wax.
Yep.
Yes, you can. And I think that is your lot for now. Tell you what, let's get you voting on the demo of the show. This is going to be tough because there's been some crackers. Remind us what you've done, Jan.
So, top of the show, then we started out with the pigment inks, and we used the opaque pigment on the white card, and we used the metallic pigment on the black card to give that two-tone effect.
Yep.
And that was with the background stencil, so that was number one.
Number one.
Number two, we did those lovely little layering stamps with the quick dry inks, again fit for purpose because we were over stamping. We wanted that ink that dried quickly, does what it says on the tin, so that was number two. And then number three, we've gone for the old favourite with the gilding wax on that lovely 3D embossing folder there with that that buffed wax on top. So that was number three.
1, 2 or 3. I reckon you've got about 2 minutes to get your vote in. Whilst you're voting, let's just quickly recap on the colours that you're going to get in the different types of ink pads that we've got. So your opaque ink pads, all of these bundles you're getting really lovely discounts on, 25% off. So in your opaque pigment ink pads, you've got your green topaz, there's crushed velvet and Chinese red. Damson wine, you've got your straw bale, spring meadow, lemon tonic, and then, ooh, frosted jade, £24 or $32 is the deal there. Again, if you want to find out more about all of the different ink pads, scroll back to the first sort of 50 minutes of the show where Jan covered all of them off for you. Next up, the quick dries, okie dokie, the quick dries. Again, 25% saving. The colours you're going to receive here are your plum jam, lemon tonic, your crushed velvet, your straw bale, honey pot, pine tree, spring meadow, and your friar brown. £24 platinum. $32 is the deal if you're shopping with us in the US. We are just moments away from getting a winner on the demo of the show. The water reactives, again, 8 here, the 25% saving for everybody. Bordeaux, I sound like Inspector Clouseau then, didn't I? Bordeaux, Junior. Crushed velvet, midnight. Pine tree, here she is, everybody. Oh, it's frosted jade. You're also going to get spring meadow, grasshopper, and then your green topaz. £24, $32. I'm really pleased as well that we solved the mystery of why they're different colours, which was very interesting to know. Not quite yet got the winner. Shall we show you the Midas? It will be here any second. I've got a funny feeling. The Midas metallic ink pad. So the 5 colours that you've got in this collection, again with a 25% saving. You've got amethyst, gold, rose satin, rose gold, and your silver. 1440, 2320. We've got a winner! The demo of the show is numéro 3. Number 3.
Yes, thank you very much, guys.
Well, let's
I did have a little sentiment, actually. I forgot to put my sentiment on it, so I might just pop this. Seeing as it's won, I'll put it on the bottom. I've just got a little thanks in the glitter card there. So I'll stick that on the bottom. Well,
whilst you're doing that, let me quickly remind you of all the demos from today. So demo number 1 was Bev Judd, who was with us on Wake Up Call.
That does seem, I was just thinking the same, Adam. You just said it seems ages ago, yeah?
Number 1, that's Bev's card. Number 2 was Jan's beautiful card from the Craft Along earlier on. And number 3 is that beautiful box that you have just voted for. So 1, Bev, 2, Jan Craft Along, 3, box. You've got about a minute and a half to get your vote in as to which one you want as the demo of the day. It is going to be another brilliant day tomorrow because we're going to kick things off with Play Your Crafts Right. Ooh, it's a return. The grudge match. Ben versus Jan.
Oh, you won me last week, didn't you?
Yeah, I beat Jan last week.
I need to get it back this week, don't I?
It was, what was it? Spot the difference, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a bit of a...
It was tough.
Yeah, it was tough. See, we've got that Adam in. We might take to his chair, I think.
I'll speak to him, festive pointy fingers or whatever he's called. We've got tomorrow, I think it's a crafty conundrum, so that'll be interesting. 3 o'clock tomorrow. Oh no, 3 o'clock tomorrow, we've got a craft along, and what we're going to be making, Jan, is Unbelievable, right?
Shall I do a sneaky peek or shall I save
really
it?
quick. No,
Shall we save it for tomorrow?
Save it for tomorrow.
I might do a sneaky peek in Playcrafts right in the morning. Yeah.
Yes. And then following the craft along tomorrow, 7 o'clock here in the UK, 2 o'clock East Coast, we have, of course, the Craft House, which we're very much looking forward to. It's going to be another
new goodies for you tomorrow.
Yes. New goodies.
Creative expressions goodies. Ooh.
Craft alongs, competitions. It's going to be amazing. Just to say as well, thank you for joining us over the course of the day today. I'll do all my thank yous now too, because there's been so many of you helping us out today. Of course, Susie and Rachel and Colleen on the socials. We've got Lord and Lady Pudding Snowbum. Was that what you were called?
Something like that.
Pudding Snowbum. We've had Festive Pointy Fingers. What was your name again, Johnny? I can't.
He was Tinsel Toes or somebody, wasn't he? Tinsel Shoes.
Pudding Tinsel Shoes. And I've been Nippy Pointy Ears. So a big thank you. A big thank you.
There's a common denominator running through most of those, isn't there?
We're still waiting on the demo of the day. It's going to be tight for time. We've literally got 40 seconds. Don't forget, 5 Friday on the website. If you haven't taken advantage of those deals, you've got to get them today. £5 or $5, but only until the end of play today. And of course, don't forget on our website, last day for the Christmas cracker deals as well. Those end, I believe, tomorrow, the Christmas cracker deals. Is that right? Oh, tonight, Christmas cracker deals. 5 Friday ends as well. Oh, it's all ended. We've got 15 seconds left. Where's the demo of the day? Quick, quick. Oh, quickly. Here it is. Oh, wait, number 3 just gets it.
Number 3, excellent. Yeah, so we've got the box in there. Thank you, guys.
That's the demo of the day. We've got to go. Listen, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a brilliant rest of your Friday. Thank you to Jan. Thank you for watching. Goodbye. Oh.